All right, welcome
Yes.
back, fellow TFFL owners, to your not-so-weekly TFFL webcast. It is actually Monday. What is it, March 23rd? We're losing track of the days here in the middle of our coronavirus quarantine. Good to see everybody. Good to see everybody. I hope everybody's doing well physically, emotionally. I hope your cupboards are stocked. Everybody's taking care of each other out there. But yeah, we're all cooped up at home, so we're going to chat. We're going to perhaps do this fairly often throughout the next few weeks. There's actually the one thing going on in the world that we can all follow is NFL free agency. So there's actually some stuff we can talk about, maybe look forward to a little bit. A couple notes here. We were just talking about this. Berto has set up a poker app that we did a tournament on a couple nights ago. We're looking at maybe a Thursday TFFL poker tournament?
Sure. Thursday 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock, whatever works.
All right. So if you're watching this, pull out your calendar, however you do it, and mark it for Thursday. Berto will send an email, and we'll gather as a league virtually on Thursday night. I don't know if you guys want to talk about our webcast schedule here. There has been proposals from at least one person on the panel to do this every night. We've got the time. I think.
Here's where this comes from. Let me give you a genesis of this. So everybody's bored. Luke watches lots of different YouTube channels. I don't know if you guys are with the Dude Perfect. A week of coronavirus events, and they had Monday through Friday. They had competitions each day. They did them live. And I was like, well, hell, why don't we do that? Let's just bring the viewers some content to watch. That's the whole point of what we're doing here, right?
Yep. Those guys make a little more money at it, I think, than we do.
Hey,
they have a warehouse. These guys they've nailed it.
They nailed it. I know. But yeah, we may be here every night or a few times a week or as often as people want us to be. We'll play poker as often as Berto can set it up, and we're all willing to do it. But yeah, we got time on our hands, so let's get together and talk. Let me do my panel introductions. I know we have a bourbon to introduce, so why don't we start at the top with our commissioner. Bork, how are you?
I'm doing great amongst the chaos and the insulated world we're living in these days. And I am happy to report I do have my bourbon, but this is going to be now bourbon of the week, not bourbon of the show, since we're doing it daily. Otherwise, I with the constraints on getting new bourbons now, I'll run out very fast. So we're good. The week is going to be Woodford this week. We have more than what's in this bottle, but this is Woodford Reserve. Right there, you go.
Nice big bottle.
Reserve, nice big bottle of it that's dwindling down. But I've already poured my glass here. I conferred with Chief before we got on the webcast, and it has a light smokiness. Woodford's usually one of the top shelf that you get when you're out at any bar. You can always count on Woodford. It's a solid base you can go to any time if you're going to go on the rocks. A little sweetness if you add it, with the rock in it. I tend to not want to put too many rocks. I go with the one rock. If you're drinking it neat, it's going to have a little bit more sting to it, but I like the one rock. Gives it a little sweet flavor on the end. So cheers.
Cheers.
We will
shout out to live guest Thorny.
What's that?
I said, quick shout out to our live guest, Thorny, watching us now.
Nice.
What's up, Thorny?
We will aspire to bring on guests throughout this adventure. And I know, we were just chatting with Michael Giovenco. He's got a very strong endorsement for a wine club that he's a part of. So maybe he can come on and tell us how to keep our wine stocked during this craziness.
It's important.
So
Hank,
before we get off the topic of booze,
yeah,
I read an interesting piece, and I just this is for fodder. That's something to think about. Is that why are you saving the good booze? Now's a good time for all those wine bottles you're saving for that special occasion. Bust it open. What you never know. Why not drink it? And there's something to that. So just throwing that out there.
Hank, you said something to that effect a couple days ago. I actually shared that with people at work today. Drink the good wine now, Hank Hawken.
Yeah. Why not?
Why not?
I mean, what the hell?
That's
Shit.
right.
What? Why not? Drink the good wine, and you might not get to.
You can always buy more.
No, you're absolutely
Yes.
right.
Or maybe we can't, Chief. Maybe we'll never get it again. But
Either way, you
Well,
drink
drink
the
it,
good wine.
right?
As Hank knows, apropos of the situation we're in, I busted out a nice bottle of The Prisoner last night.
That's a
Yep.
good bottle.
Yep.
It's a good bottle.
Yes.
So, Hank, our IT director, czar, and CEO of the K-Wheels, welcome. Looking a little blurry
Cheers.
to me. That's
Good to be here.
Yeah, you might have to plug in like we're talking, Hank. You're the only one that's got a little blur going on your screen.
That may just be Hank. Struggling with the
We're seeing him through the fifth dimension.
Chief skipper of the Sponge Fishermen, former commissioner,
Howdy.
defending champions,
Champion.
and there
Got
we
it.
go.
Bowl's here. Bowl is here.
Beautiful. Looks great.
God, it was
It does look great.
just right there, not too long. Damn it.
Unfortunately, my camera doesn't go wide. I'm on my iPad. Speaking of bourbon, I didn't have any Woodford. I was trying to sync up with Richie. Believe it or not, I'm out of that. And I was waiting. They usually release their Kentucky Derby bottle, in April. So I usually make sure I get one of those. But Richard, if you haven't tried this one yet, this is a little bit hard to find, but it's an excellent bourbon. Cameras aside. Traverse City Whiskey Company.
All right. I'm taking
So,
note.
It's out of Michigan. There's about 3 places in DC that carry it pretty faithfully, but it's nice. It's smooth. It's not sweet at all, which is how I like my bourbons.
You said Travis City Whiskey Bourbon?
Right, Traverse City. Traverse City Whiskey Company is a distillery.
Whiskey Company. That's
So I had the privilege of being there about 4 years ago, up on the top of Michigan. They got a lot of cool distilleries up there, as well as the brewery scene.
love it.
Good to see you all. As Stick said,
Yep.
This is about as good as we can hope for. I snuck off to a bar yesterday. Boy, my wife pissed at me. But,
Oh,
Chief.
I think that was the last. You know what? I brought my own mug. I made the bartender wash her hands before she touched it. It was me and one other person in the place who was several seats down from me.
All right.
So
That's
I
not
feel
bad.
like I feel like it did okay.
You own the joint.
It had been a week. I was getting a little too much cabin fever, but I think that I don't want to go through that discussion again. But so I think this is as good as we can hope for a while.
That was your one venture out.
Of all the people in the TFFL who are so extroverted that they were going to, bust out of the quarantine, Chief would not have been my first guess.
I had to go to the store anyway. It was kind of on the way home.
I was on the way home. That's a different story.
Right.
Just a quick dip in.
I didn't go specifically. Right.
It followed me home. Yeah. Berto, high command from Jack's Giant Killers. Welcome.
Hey, Stick, there's been a lot of drinking this week for me. So tonight, I'm actually going with the Triple Berry Canada Dry Seltzer.
Nice.
No alcohol tonight on the webcast. A lot of booze and a lot of Ben & Jerry's the last week. So taking it easy tonight with early morning meetings. But I snuck out as well on Sunday to play 9 holes of golf with Jack. But
That's not bad.
nobody was around us. We walked. We didn't touch the flag stick, didn't hit the ball in the hole. Totally fine. So no issue. But now that golf course is shut down anyway, so we won't be doing that again. But we did get out on Sunday, so that was good to walk 9 holes.
So I've been worried about my dad, who lives on a golf course, is retired, plays a lot of golf, and has been telling me he keeps going and playing golf. And but they've got it figured out pretty well. He says they show up and they play. There's only like 10 guys who still come and play apparently. They split into 2 fivesomes. Each person gets their own cart. There are no flags. They've removed the flags,
Okay.
and since there's nothing to really aim for now, the hole is in the center of every hole. So
Gotcha.
you know where you're hitting. Nobody's touching a flag stick.
Yep. Yeah, same thing. Couldn't touch a flag stick. We walked, so didn't even use a cart. Yeah, so it was as safe as walking around the neighborhood, in my estimation. So
I want to point out the introductions have now taken over 10 minutes. And you think we're getting out of here in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And you guys think we can't do multiple webcasts in a week. We haven't even started talking about anything to do with football. Nothing.
I'm fairly confident we could do a webcast every night.
All right. So here's the big question that applies to everything going on in the world, and we can localize it about football. Are we seriously going to have a football season this year?
Probably.
I'm saying yes. There will
I'm
be.
saying yes as well. I'm going to put it at 80-20. Yes.
I'm going to say yes, but no fans.
Okay, I'm going to go more with Chief, and yes, there will be football, but it's not going to look like it usually does.
Let me take the broader step back and say, I mean, I think we're the way I'm thinking about it now, and this changes by the hour, of course, but I think we're looking at 2 to 3 months like we're living right now. I don't think we're popping back up in 2 to 3 weeks and going back to normal. Everything I've read suggests we need, multiple strings of 3 weeks stacked on top of each other. But even then, I don't think we pop back up in June and go back to normal. I think we pop back up in June and travel is limited. I think, big events are not going to be taking place yet. Again, the people who think, we're going to, the kids will be back in summer school and make up for no, I don't think we're going to suddenly stick kids back in classrooms together. I think there's enough money to be made in televising football that they will probably figure that out. But there may not be fans in the stands.
Yeah.
They're not, I don't presume they're going to be able to really have mini camps. What is that usually in May or June? I don't know what the effect will be on training camps and exhibition in August, but my best guess would be, we might have a season. There may not be fans in the stands, and it's probably not starting in September. Just my read on it right now. I don't know that I see the kids going back to school in September. We don't, without a vaccine, I think, we're not going to be able to do groups of people for another year.
I think.
Webcast is supposed to cheer me up.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Berto.
Yeah.
Webcast is supposed to cheer me up, not bring me down.
Oh, there you go. I'm with you on that. So I'm going to give you maybe a little different perspective and hope. I think that it is more dependent on being able to test people than it is having a vaccine.
Okay.
To a degree. And I mean, the vaccine is going to be an important step as well, but just being able to know easily if you have it or not, will, I think, allow us to, if you get to a point where you could tell if you had it and had no symptoms or something like that, there's going to be some sort of identifier that they give to people, whether it's something on an ID, a bracelet, or something else that notifies I've had it, I've been through it. You're not going to get it again, right? You can't get it, right? Yeah, I mean, but I think that's the first step is having the mass test, and that's going to put people a little at ease.
You might be right, Rich. Yeah.
And I don't want to minimize what's going on here because I hate people who do. But there is a real chance when we get into June and July and August and the hotter months, and especially in the hotter climates, this thing peters out or slows to a crawl. I don't want to depend on that. I don't want to put public policy around that. But I think there's a significant chance that happens.
In that scenario, does it come back in October, November when the weather cools down?
Quite possibly.
It's a different flu every year. It might be mutated slightly. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to mutate. It's going to come back. It's going to be around for a while. It's going to mutate. It's going to change, just like every other flu virus that's out there.
Right, and let's not forget, John. Once this goes away, then the summer months come. Then you're dealing with the mosquitoes and the viruses they're spreading.
Sure.
Right.
Sure, but I mean, we haven't seen something. I think the term is virulent virulent, something that spreads like this one that has such a long incubation period. You can carry it for such a long time. That survives on surfaces. This is, the kind of perfect
Yeah, it's
storm
different.
of
You're right.
flus. I mean, it might not
It
mutate to
is.
something worse. It might mutate to something better.
Yeah.
Which, frankly, is anything that we've seen.
Mhm.
But again, we're all just speculating. Nobody
Maybe
knows.
Dr. Fauci's available for the next webcast. Give us
Yeah,
an
we
update.
need him as a guest.
I think he's a football fan. I think he's a big football fan.
But I mean, if we want to, here's the questions: will they even let the athletes play together? I mean, right now we can't gather in groups of more than 10, right? So there's 11 guys on a football field. How are they going to
Well, that goes
practice?
back
How are
to-
they going to play? Maybe they say travel.
They'll test all the players.
Mhm.
I mean, those are people who can reliably get tests right now, politicians and athletes.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably so.
Once they're cleared, I don't know. I'm just.
But we did just say it incubates forever. It doesn't know. You could carry it without knowing it.
Yeah, dude. On March 4th, I was in Madison Square Garden, and I was about 100 feet from Rudy on the Utah Jazz.
Yeah, Rudy Gobert. Yeah.
Wow.
Right. And I found out a few weeks later that he was the first hit me. I was like, geez, I was just 100 feet from that guy 2 weeks ago, whatever. Right. I was thankful. It was a little unnerving. Yeah,
it's a little too close.
What's that? I was
100 feet
social distance. I was 100 feet. That was, considering a bunch of Knicks did not get it who were playing against him, I take that as a good sign.
Maybe
if anybody deserved to get it, it was him.
Well, especially after the whole touching the
wish on anybody.
Yeah.
Talk about karma.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. Well, let's talk some football in the meantime. The NFL is carrying on as if they're going to have a season this year, so let's pretend along with them. NFL free agency has been going strong. Tops on the list of NFL news was Tom Brady going to Tampa Bay. Maybe not huge fantasy implications, but I actually wonder. Here's the question: does that hurt Mike Evans and Chris Godwin to a slight extent? Jameis Winston actually, brought a certain something from a fantasy perspective.
Two interesting facts. Number one, Jameis Winston led the NFL in passing last year, right? Jameis Winston, number one. Number two, he currently does not have a team that he's going to play for next season. And that is shocking. And, Brady is Brady, but let's see if how much of an upgrade it is.
First of all, the Tampa Bay's defense was pretty good. They were like, 6th or 8th overall defense or something like that. Tampa Bay was not good directly due to Jameis Winston. Yes, fantasy-wise, fine, but, Tampa Bay is going to be better with Brady without all of those interceptions and all those turnovers. I think Brady is going to have a bit of a resurgence this year in Tampa Bay as a fantasy quarterback. I think he's going to have, one more, not typical, not, Brady at his peak, but he's going to be 80% plus of what Brady's been on some of his better years, I think, in Tampa Bay coming up. So, that's my view of it.
I'll say there's no way Brady scores nearly as many fantasy points as Winston did last year. He doesn't even get close to it. Well, to Berto's point, yeah, Tampa Bay will be better. They'll win more games. They'll still be in 7-9, 9-7, somewhere around there. But fantasy-wise, no, I don't think it's an upgrade for Evans or for Godwin or OJ Howard or anyone else you want to put in there.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's up significantly or down significantly. I think it's going to be fairly close. Arians, no matter how you slice it, is an aired out guy. So it's more about the coaching than it is just the quarterback. The difference is going to be he's going to throw just as much as he did with Winston. They're just going to be more accurate. So there's going to be less interceptions. Instead of 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions, you may get 20, 4 touchdowns and, 10 interceptions, 8 interceptions, something lower than that, right? I think that's probably the big difference.
Here's my thought on this, though. Tom Brady doesn't go there, right, without having a conversation with Bruce Arians. What?
Oh, we lost him right at the question.
Berto, you've locked up.
We lost him right at the question.
Yep.
Come on, Berto, come back. We're on the edge.
Where are you, Berto?
Tampa Bay claims they didn't talk to Brady before that because that would have been tampering.
Come on, Berto. He got so excited.
I know. All right.
Oh, there he is. What was your question, Berto? You blanked out on us.
Berto?
Some blinks back yet.
Berto.
We don't have him yet.
He's moving his head so slowly now.
Have you let him in, Hank?
He's right there. He's in.
Berto,
Can you hear us?
You're in, right?
Everyone go out?
No, you were
no.
the only one who went out. You got to your question. You said, what if? And then you froze. And we don't know what you said.
Well, it was an awesome point. My point was Brady, free agent, talks to Bruce Arians. Brady's going to hear what he wants to hear. Tom, you're the greatest quarterback of all time. You don't have a lot of years left. You're going to be able to do whatever the fuck you want and throw the ball as much as you possibly can. That's what Tom Brady heard, and that was part of the reason why he went there.
I believe that 100%.
Yeah.
And Bruce Arians said, look, I'm going to retire anyway in 2 years too, so let's go out on this pony together. Let's go.
Let's throw the ball. You're the best of all time. Tom, see what you can do.
Have fun.
Here's the keys.
Yeah.
And now he doesn't – I think he was just tired with Belichick too. Belichick's going to wear you out a little bit. And I think maybe he was like, let's do this a little slower pace here and have some fun.
It's warmer down there.
Imagine being
Warm.
married to somebody who yells at you nonstop for 20 years. And yeah, you win a lot. But man, that's after a while. It's like, there's other women out there who are not going to yell at me as a 6-time Super Bowl champion, every day from, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. I don't blame him for leaving. I think that was probably reason number one.
Really?
Was to not deal with Belichick. He's paid his dues, 20 years.
Maybe. I think Brady was the last person that Belichick yelled at on that team.
Drew Bledsoe had a great line when when Parcells left New England and Pete Carroll came in, and a reporter asked him, said, Drew, so what's the difference? He said, I'm playing football now. Like, well, you've been playing football for, last 3 years. He goes, no, I was working football then, and now I'm playing football. And that's what it keeps coming to,
Yeah.
They had that guy from, was it Lane Johnson for the Eagles a couple of years ago said, I wouldn't want to win 5. I'd rather win having fun than win 5, and not enjoying myself. And there's probably something to that for a lot of players.
Yeah. The other thing, too, is Tom Brady could throw with his left hand and not throw as many interceptions as Winston did last year. So,
Winston.
they're just gonna chuck it, man, all day. They're gonna throw the ball in Tampa Bay because they have nothing to lose.
Yeah, Mike Evans does if he gets somebody a little accurate, that guy goes up and catches everything. I mean, he's
Well, I think that was reason number 2. I'm sure that Brady went there is the weapons he's going to have down there. He's not the downfield thrower that Winston was, let's be honest. But yeah, with Godwin and Evans and O.J. Howard at tight end, I think he'll do just fine.
Here's a question.
Don't forget about the emergence of stud running back Ronald Jones.
Right.
I had forgotten about that.
But here's the real question. You've heard the rumors, and I think it's BS, but about bringing Antonio Brown down there.
Yeah.
I don't even see why. I don't think the NFL would let him come back.
I don't see it.
Nope.
But the Tampa Bay situation and Ronald Jones is a nice segue into another player we can talk about. The guy I thought Tampa might bring in to help Brady out would be a running back like Melvin Gordon or Todd Gurley.
Talk about a guy who got the shaft. Melvin Gordon goes
Too much faith in
Denver.
Jones.
Yeah, so we can talk about both those guys, but yeah, Melvin Gordon goes to Denver, where I don't think that's great for Gordon. I don't think that's great for Philip Lindsay there, and it's most certainly not good for Royce Freeman. Yeah, Melvin Gordon really screwed himself. That is one of the worst holdouts ever.
Ever.
We're-
I was
we're
actually
seeing-
hoping the Bills were going to get him. There was a lot of talk the Bills were going to get him. I was like,
Yeah.
him and
Yeah.
Singletary on a heavy run offense, that'd be great.
That was another option. Yeah.
we're seeing Jadeveon Clowney play that out too right now.
Yeah.
The guy turned down $17 million. So he wants to pay 20. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to sidetrack it, but
No.
you're right. That was a horrible holdout.
Yep.
And as it relates to Tampa, you gotta think if you're making overtures to Tom Brady, you gotta surround him with everything you possibly can. They're not going into the season with Ronald Jones and Peyton Barber, or that guy's name I can't pronounce, or anybody else is on the team right now.
That guy scored a touchdown against me and I lost.
They might get Lamar Miller.
Terry.
They might invest a high draft pick in a running back. Lamar Miller is the first one I could think of, though, is still available.
Yeah.
Carlos Hyde had a good year last year. He's available. So we won't go into the David Johnson trade just yet.
Devontae Freeman's available.
Devontae Freeman's available.
Yep. Well, okay, so that's a nice segue then into talking about the David Johnson trade. And the first real quick note,
David Johnson.
I think Carlos Hyde made a terrible decision too. He was offered a contract in Houston, I think with a reasonable price tag on it, and said, no, I'm going into free agency. Why not stick around on a good Houston team where you just had a good season? I don't think there's a lot of starting running back gigs open out there. But the big trade
These guys are all ego.
Yep. The bad advice from their agents, I think.
Yeah, they think they're the going to be able to get more than what they should get on the market, and they overvalue themselves, and most of them eat it. And we see two examples right there.
And
with Gordon and Clowney.
And the
supply and demand's a relatively simple thing to get a handle on.
Right.
Supply and demand, my third grader, can explain that perfectly well. What does supply and demand mean? But yet these NFL running backs, they don't get it. Their agents don't get it or won't get it.
Well, and enough NFL teams have made mistakes in recent years, but I think the NFL teams are learning, and the running backs are going to follow very soon. Melvin Gordon was asking for $15 million a year. He was asking for Todd Gurley money, and Todd Gurley himself has proven he's not worth that much money. I think the Zeke Elliott contract is going to look bad for Dallas potentially. Already doesn't look great. Devontae Freeman had gotten a big extension a couple of years ago. These guys, just the odds of them continuing to be studs for even more than one more year after they sign these extensions is very slim. So anyway, DeAndre Hopkins to Arizona goes to Kyler Murray out there. David Johnson comes in to be the running back in Houston. I think the big news there is what that does for Kyler Murray.
I still just don't get it. I don't get it.
It's a terrible trade for Houston on so many levels.
I don't get. Yeah, Houston. That makes no sense. I mean, do we know what David Johnson's going to give them next year? Maybe I'm missing it, but where does he rank in the top back?
He got a lot of.
Here's the confounding part for me. If you feel that DeAndre Hopkins is going to hold out, be a distraction, is not going to sign, wants a raise, that's fine. You can trade him. You can probably get a first-round draft pick for him. Probably a first-round plus draft pick for him. Why do you want to take on David Johnson's contract, which is almost as much as DeAndre Hopkins? Right? You can pay DeAndre Hopkins 11.5,
right?
Or you can pay David Johnson like 10.9 or something.
Yeah.
Which you got to regret, but this time next year. How do we get rid of this guy's contract? I don't get it. I'm okay with trading him.
Yeah,
top dollars, fine.
Chief, totally agree with you. I was thinking the same thing when I saw that trade. Why not a first round pick? They would have gotten it. Somebody would have paid that.
Easy. The Bills would have.
Yeah, he's a cancer in the locker room. They could have made
You
a
can
better
get a
trade.
running back on a rookie contract.
Yeah.
No, and Hank hit it. We actually talked about this on the webcast a month or two ago, but Hank brings it back up. I don't even think David Johnson is a viable starting NFL running back anymore. Arizona almost sort of said he wasn't even a viable backup running back last.
Well, I mean, there is something to be said for schemes, and that's why Kenyon Drake sucked in Miami, was good in Arizona. I mean, schemes play a role here.
Mm-hmm. And
Phil,
Carlos,
Phil, you can't be happy about that, though.
Not at all. I mean, that hurts Watson in the major league. He loses his best receiver. I mean, are they kind of count on Will Fuller? God, I hope not. And I know I've been hearing a lot about the draft class coming up is loaded with really good rookie wide receivers. Probably very true. We'll all be watching. But
if you don't get one of the
DeAndre Hopkins is stud.
Who they bring? They brought in somebody, right? Somebody decent after they made that trade.
Yeah, it was like Kenny Stills or somebody like that. It's
They had him last year.
It's not that exciting.
Randall Cobb.
Randall
Cobb.
Not quite DeAndre Hopkins.
No, not by a long shot.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, but what about Kyler Murray? I had Nick on the phone in the last week suggesting, I definitely need to keep both Lamar Jackson and Kyler Murray now. I kind of think that was the case anyway, given Nick's roster, given Kyler Murray's upside. But I think we're going to see a lot of talk about Kyler Murray, certainly a top 10 fantasy quarterback, maybe much higher now.
I would.
I think that there is an under. I don't know if you guys have looked at this. There are a lot of teams in this league that could use a quarterback. I'm not sure that Nick gets to the draft or the keeper day with two quarterbacks. I'll bet there's a move before then. I think there's at least 3 teams that could use one.
I like to get one of those quarterbacks.
I would too. I can't.
So.
I don't have the capital, but yeah, I'd love to.
No, you're absolutely right, Hank. I think Kyler Murray will get traded, and the question is,
or Lamar Jackson, whichever one.
Yeah.
I made a bunch of offers to Nick during the season last year, and he was a bit of a pain. So we'll have to go through that whole thing again.
Mm-hmm.
He's got
painful with Nick.
I tried to trade Nick at one point. He was just like, "Oh, I didn't have my phone." Like,
yeah,
a day.
You can't get during the season. You have no shot during the off season.
Yeah.
Maybe like 2 days before protection day to the draft.
This might be a rare good window of time to pin him down.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, take advantage. As quick as you can, chances are there'll be no follow-up.
I ping him at work once.
Yeah.
That's a really good point, Stan.
Hey. All right, so we did mention Todd Gurley earlier. Todd Gurley now in Atlanta, replacing Devontae Freeman there. I think you can ask the same question about Gurley that you ask about David Johnson. Does Gurley have anything left in the tank? Is he still a starting caliber running back?
I'd rather have him for whatever you sign him for than David Johnson at $10.9 million or whatever the hell they're paying him. So
I think
somebody's going to pick up Gurley. Of course, somebody's going to get him.
He's in
Atlanta. He got signed by Atlanta.
Yeah, half the price tag of David Johnson, but he's in Atlanta for the Falcons. On turf, I don't know if that's good for Gurley's knees.
Yeah. So the thing about Atlanta is they don't really have anyone else there. So he will be, by default, he's going to give every opportunity to get 3 down back. What will he hold up? That's the big question. But he's going to get the ball. That's for sure.
I was thinking
they went from having 2 stud running backs to 0. They had Coleman and Freeman, lost them both.
It's our
Chief.
I was gonna say I was starting to think Ito Smith was gonna be a sneaky keeper for I think the Giant Killers.
I think he's on my roster.
But I don't think you can go into the season relying on Todd Gurley to stay healthy. You just can't.
In fairness to Todd Gurley, I don't have his stats in front of me, but I think this was a guy who scored 12 plus touchdowns last year, even in his scaled back role. And yeah, as Berto says, there's not a lot of competition there. You got Ito Smith, you got Brian Hill, you got Kadri Olison. Gurley's going to get touches. It's not a bad offense. He's certainly a keeper still for the Fats.
I don't know what the draft picks are for the Falcons, but they seem like one of those teams that's going to take a running back, and maybe the first team to take a running back or second round or whatever.
Just gonna say there will be a rookie there.
Yeah. So, Gurley will have competition. It'll be one of the top, if not the top rookie running back, and see what happens.
The other sort of big trade that happened that affects fantasy, Stephon Diggs goes from Hank's team, the Vikings, to Rich's team, the Bills. Diggs has never quite been a stud. But from a fantasy perspective, a very good number 2 fantasy receiver at times. I think a very good NFL receiver. Buffalo to me is an interesting team, Rich. Given the opening in that division now with Brady out of there. Josh Allen is a fascinating quarterback to watch, but led that team to the playoffs last year. Without a lot of weapons on offense.
I would say that he did a really good job with Smokey Brown and Beasley and Knox, right? You add in Diggs now, and all of a sudden Smokey Brown's open a bit more. You got 2 guys that can play underneath or over the top, and then 1 guy in the slot, plus Knox and Singletary, who's like the Barry Sanders coming. So who knows, there's a lot of opportunity there. The thing I think you'll really know after this year is if their QB's for real. If he's got the weapons around him now, right? Will it allow him? Can he get a bit more accurate? We know he can run. We know he can run.
Cut out those boneheaded plays that just.
Oh God.
That's just. Could he mature a little bit more? Get rid of those.
When he's bad, man. There's about 4 games last year. He just imploded.
Yeah, you hope that comes with maturity and be in the field better. I mean, he's only year 2. This is year 3, so I thought he did pretty good for his first 2, and so I'm hoping he can continue that trajectory. We'll see.
I'm liking the crawl, Hank.
Yeah, that's great.
I want to make sure I'm giving Thorny enough love. He wanted to make sure I was getting his text, that I wasn't addressing his comments. Thorny, I love you, man. This comment is, whatever. This is inside stuff. Yeah.
So the interesting thing to me in Buffalo, Rich, and you touched on this, is when Josh Allen came into the league, the big knock on him was accuracy. It's still been somewhat of an issue in Buffalo, and the guys they're adding good receiving talent, but the guys they keep bringing in from John Brown to Cole Beasley and even I think Stephon Diggs, these are not tall guys. And if you're trying to help his accuracy issues, you figure at some point you bring in a 6'4" guy, not another 5'9", 5'10" guy.
Yeah,
but
you bring in the Blazers, guys who can run, so you can't overthrow them.
Yeah.
One thing Josh Allen does is throw the ball deep. So it's like
he's got a gun.
John Brown will catch it. Stephon
and he did.
Another very, very fast guy.
Yeah.
Cole Beasley. Okay, he's more quick than fast. Dawson Knox for tight end is a very fast player. So that might be what they're thinking. They got the force defenses to play back somewhat. And the best thing to me about Josh Allen is his running.
Yeah,
he's not Lamar Jackson, but in the red zone, he's a
He's
real threat to score touchdowns.
Yeah.
Cannot bring him down. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm very sad.
Accuracy got a little better, but it goes back to what Chief was saying in terms of the bonehead play, right? Like he had some opportunities to really seal a game, to win that drive, and he had a couple of game-winning drives, but there was a few breakdowns in the season that really could have put them in a better direction, and didn't. So you had good things like the Dallas win on Thanksgiving, and then you had just awful things like the loss to the Browns. It was just it made no sense.
First thing, the Bills made the playoffs last year. Am I not mistaken in that?
They did.
Right?
Yeah. They did.
They're doing just fine then in that case. So let's not worry about
photo of
that.
that
They're
game,
trying to
too.
go forward. Signing Diggs, they're paying a lot for him, and I'm going to miss him in Minnesota. And he's, a very reliable, good receiver. He's a bit of a head case, and I worry that, with Josh Allen, hopefully they can get good chemistry going right away. But he'll be interesting to see how he meshes with that team.
Agreed.
But I hope this is all good news for Devin Singletary to lead the way for Buffalo's run through the AFC this year.
As far as the Vikings go, this is addition by subtraction. Because we're talking about a guy who complains after wins because he didn't get enough catches.
Yep.
Yep.
That's an issue. That's Keyshawn Johnson shit. That's Terrell Owens shit.
Thank you.
And for the Vikings, if you're Spielman and you're Zimmer, say, you know what, we run the ball 35 out of every 50 plays. We don't need to be spending $10 million on a receiver. On the flip side of that, I don't think Adam Thielen's anyone's idea of a number one receiver. If he's
solid
going to
two.
be the number one, I'm a little worried. So hopefully they can bring in someone. Maybe it's a rookie. Maybe it's under the radar free agent who can play a number one type role. Maybe Emmanuel Sanders got scooped up, but somebody.
But
because they need help, but not at the price tag as Stephon Diggs wanted.
no, and unlike Houston, Minnesota actually got decent return for trading away their receiver.
They got only picks.
And yeah, the rookie receiver class is loaded. I suspect the Vikings are one of those teams that'll be adding somebody that way.
Troy Williamson.
And eventually the Quan Treadwell is going to show himself. Don't undersell him.
That's the issue. Is Minnesota does not have a good track record with rookie receivers.
Hey,
You know what I read?
be careful.
I read this.
You remember they also drafted Randy Moss.
I know.
And Troy Williamson to replace him. But I don't know if you read Mike Florio at all. And like Crontrell reminded me because he's on Atlanta now.
Yep.
Atlanta could start 11 first-round picks on offense.
Wow.
They have a first-round pick at every position on their roster.
Wow. That is nuts.
That is.
So
Look at the quarterbacks now in that division, right? I saw a stat the other day that 3 of them have over 50,000 yards throwing, right? Between Drew Brees, Tom Brady, and Matty Ice.
what a perfect segue then. And Hank already teed this up. Credit to him and to Thornburg. My last topic of conversation is Cam Newton, the 4th quarterback in that division. I thought it was a look. Yeah, he's gone from Carolina. They bring in Bridgewater. A quick 2-part question. Do you think Carolina made the right move? I don't really see it as an upgrade from Newton to Bridgewater.
I think they made the right move.
And where does Cam land? I mean, Cam Newton has to be a starting quarterback for somebody in the NFL, right?
I thought he was coming to the Patriots.
He still
He might be.
but it's going to be after he gets released if they pick him up. They're not going to trade for him.
So the Redskins just picked up Kyle Allen.
Kyle Allen, yeah.
That was going to be my guess as to where Cam Newton was going to go. So I'm at a loss as to where he's going to go now. He doesn't seem like going to the Pats would happen. But so I don't know. Washington was my guess, but after that, I don't know.
What's open? Right?
Are the Chargers really going to go with Tyrod Taylor as their quarterback?
That's probably the spot.
That's probably it. Yeah, you're right. That's probably the spot.
Well, I think the Chargers are going to draft
Cam.
Hank?
Sorry. No, I was saying, I think Cam, much like we just talked about with Stephon Diggs, has got that personality issue where he might jive with some people, but he's not going to be the best team guy, I don't think. I think he and Belichick would never get along. So I don't think that would ever happen. I think Teddy Bridgewater in Carolina could be really good because he's much more humble than Cam Newton is. And I think he probably wants it maybe a little bit more. And look, I'm maybe biased because he's a Vikings guy, but he's going to be good. He wants to prove something. And I think they did well to get him, and he'll play well with McCaffrey, much like Thornburg said.
If Cam Newton is healthy, and that's obviously a big caveat, to me, he is still probably a top 10 quarterback in this league, talent-wise. as somebody who had him as his fantasy quarterback and watched him a lot, there may not be a tougher quarterback on the field. Speaking of Josh Allen's toughness, Cam Newton carries an offense. I think San Diego's a good call. He's got to be a starting quarterback somewhere if he's healthy, and it's probably a bargain for.
Do you want Cam Newton or Jameis Winston?
I want Cam Newton, and I'm a little surprised too. I think Jameis Winston probably is a starting quarterback somewhere too. I can't see him in New England, but guys who can throw 5,000 yards, 30 touchdowns, who are 26 years old, I'm surprised there isn't a starting job for him out there. I probably would have, if I were an NFL GM, I might have taken him over Bridgewater.
Cam Newton is, if I'm not mistaken, 30 years old now.
Yeah.
Gonna be, I think, 31 during the course of the season. Quarterbacks that play like Cam Newton plays do not age well. I mean, he's 30, quarterback years, he might be 45. He's taken a ton of hits. He's played that reckless style because they say he's a tough guy. He doesn't sit out. He plays through injuries. There's a legit chance he might be just done. If I was a team like the Bengals, you might want to pick up a veteran guy after the cut to in case Joe Burrow needs a little time. But you'd want a guy close in style to Joe Burrow. So I don't think you would want, Newton for that job either.
So the other
I don't know.
The other team that is an outside thought is Jacksonville.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want the Minshew, Fury, or maybe do they
need somebody else in there?
That's a good call.
And Minshew's cheap enough you can have another quarterback.
Right.
Yeah.
On the team.
I think Jacksonville really wants to give Minshew every opportunity to win that job and succeed there, though.
I think that's a mistake. I think you're absolutely right. Cam Newton probably makes a lot of sense there too, or Winston. Minshew.
I brought up the Chargers, and I think that's an obvious one. I don't think that they're going to pull the trigger on that. I think he has a better shot at Jacksonville than he does the Chargers. I think the Chargers are okay going in with Tyrod Taylor and the notion that they're going to draft their rook of the future in the draft. They have a pretty high pick, if I'm not mistaken.
Interesting tidbit from Thorny there. Maybe Winston to the Steelers as Ben's heir apparent.
I can see it.
Well, you got Mason Rudolph, right? Are they going to go in just Rudolph?
I can see that.
I can see it too.
You'd have Bennett and you'd have Winston and you'd get rid of Rudolph, actually.
Yeah, I think that
maybe get rid of Rudolph.
I'd rather have Winston than Cam Newton. Just for
the
age. And I actually think he could be coached out of his, interception thing.
The one I didn't get, a team that could have used Cam Newton for sure would have been Chicago. I just don't understand why teams keep thinking Nick Foles is a franchise quarterback. I don't get it.
Wait, he's in Jacksonville, isn't he?
No, they traded him to Chicago.
Yeah,
Chicago took on that contract. I don't get it.
I don't get it either.
Yeah. The real quick, the Bengals suggestion, they're not bringing in Newton or Winston for Burrows. That's toxic in the quarterback room. If they'll bring in somebody, like Brian Hoyer after New England finds who they want to be their quarterback, somebody who's like respectable, can play, and can do how to be a grown up.
Right.
Andy Dalton
could stay.
Is the perfect guy for Cincinnati to hold on to.
He is.
He should stay. I thought everyone was talking like he was going to New England, but I think he's staying right where he is, and he's going to end up coaching Burrows up.
Yeah. And unless he really wants to play, then Cincinnati should get something from New England for him.
Yeah.
All right, guys, this has been fun.
We'll see.
All right.
Keep going.
Yeah.
Let's do it again tomorrow.
I got nowhere else to be.
Did not limit
Let's do it
ourselves.
again tomorrow. I'm ready.
Hey, I got one little tidbit for the finish, which is there's some really great rules discussions going on, and since there's everyone's got some extra time on their hands, There's some changes being proposed to the NFL. Think through it. Chief has done a really good job working through some of the future of what IRFA could look like, and I think you'll be pleased to dialogue on that one. But absolutely do bring your rules forward to the rules chairman, Mr. Thornburg. Sooner rather than later, we're going to get going on that discussion. Maybe right at the end of the month here, we can get things going.
Cool.
All right. Maybe we'll be back tomorrow night. Let's at least say Wednesday night. Thursday poker.
Sure.
Email coming from Roberto.
What the hell else do you got to do, man? Tomorrow night, let's do it. Let's go. We'll continue the discussion.
Anybody,
We have a fan.
anybody who wants to join us, maybe Thornburg does, but then we'd cut our audience. We'll try to get a guest on tomorrow night. We'll see as many of you guys as possible. Subscribe to Hank's YouTube channel, if nothing else, so you can get notified when we're live. But yeah, I hope everybody's well. Hope we can keep you entertained, keep us all connected, and yeah, looking forward to poker if we can get everybody together in a couple nights.
Yep. Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right, guys, take care.
Cheers, gentlemen.
We'll see you soon.
All right. Good night, gents.
Yes. Go TFFL.
Y'all be careful.